STUDYGLAM and hope you all are doing good. So let's further ado, we will move to our lesson today. So our lesson today is plate tectonics theory, especially not the whole theory but the plate part, means like that what is plate, how does it move and so on. So let's further ado, let's get started. Lithosphere. So what is lithosphere? So before we move to what is plate, we need to know what is lithosphere. Lithosphere consists of crust and upper mantle. As we know, crust is divided into two major parts. First is continental crust and the second one is oceanic crust. So what is lithosphere? Lithosphere consists of the outermost part, outermost layer of the earth, that is crust, and the upper part of the mantle. So before we move to what is plate, we need to know what is lithosphere. Lithosphere consists of crust and upper mantle. As we know, crust is divided into two major parts. First is continental crust and the second one is oceanic crust. So what is lithosphere? Lithosphere consists of the outermost part, outermost layer of the earth, that is crust, and the upper part of the mantle. The lithosphere is made up of tectonic plates. This is the main part of our concern. So the lithosphere is made up of tectonic plates. As we know, there are 7 major plates and many more minor plates which are in motion. So the second thing is, where two different types of plates meet, we call that plate boundary, right? So moving on, the next thing is there are 3 types of plate boundaries, which are, first one is convergent, second one is divergent, and the third one is transform. What is convergent plate boundary? In convergent plate boundaries, two different types of plates come in the direction of each other. So there is a collision. Okay, and what happens in divergent plate boundaries? Different types of plate goes in the opposite direction of each other, means they go away from each other. So this is divergent plate boundary, and the last one is transform plate boundary. So in convergent we saw that two plates are moving towards each other, and in divergent we saw the opposite thing. But here it doesn't happen the same way. In transform plate boundary, two different types of plates just pass along each other, and it gives rise to transform faults. There must be a question that how the plates are getting the motion from, right? So we will discuss that now. Why the plates move? Because of the intensive heat in the mantle, molten lava starts to move and it creates a convection cell which causes the plates to move. So as we read that why the plates move, because the mantle is full of extensive heat and that heat melts the magma into molten lava, and that drives a motion, and a motion is created in a term we call convection cell, that is a rounded cell, and that drives the plates to move apart or they are coming towards each other, right? As we have done discussing the other things, we will move that what happens in the convergent boundaries. So along the convergent boundaries, subduction occurs. The heavier plate goes under the mantle, then it melts because of extensive heat present there. because as we know that in convergent boundary two plates are meeting together and there is a collision. The plate which is in heavier in thickness and in weight, it will go under the lighter plate and it will subduct there, and the subducted part will melt because of the extensive heat in the mantle. So moving on, that is why this type of boundaries are called destructive plate boundaries. Why they are called destructive plate boundaries? Because a part of the crust is being destroyed this collision. So what is the next thing? So we will now talk about the divergent plate boundary. In the divergent plate boundary, two plates move in the opposite direction. As we know, the molten magma upwells from underneath and creates new crust. So the opposite is happening exactly here, right? So in the divergent plate boundary, what we are saying, the two plates are going away from each other. So the molten magma which is present in the mantle, the molten magma which is present in the mantle, it is upwelled, and while it cools down, it is creating a new crust. So that's why called constructive boundary as well. Example can be given for this divergent plate boundary, that is seafloor spreading. Because of the divergent plate boundary, seafloor spreads, and the example is Mid-Atlantic Ridge and East Pacific Rise. So moving on, the last point we get for today's lesson, that is transform boundaries, that occurs when two boundaries just passed along each other and transform fault occurs. And we can give an example, that is San Andreas fault. So what we have learned today about the lithosphere, about the plates. I have tried to make it simple. If you have any question, please ask me in the comments. Give you the diagrams that will help you to know about it more carefully. And yeah, do like, share and subscribe and share also, and stay home and stay safe. Bye.